All right, welcome back, everyone. Lawmakers have 18 topics on the agenda during the special session. Jack Fink spoke to fellow political reporters about the magnitude of this particular session.
It's pretty bold. I'm not sure how they're going to get all this done in the span of 30 days. This is quite a slate even for a regular session. Obviously, a lot of this stuff didn't pass during the regular session. So they had 140 days to do that. Now they have 30. And I'm hard pressed to believe they get everything done. A lot of it is red meat, taxpayer funded lobbying, the Women's Privacy Act, known as the bathroom bill, property tax relief still, and reform. I think the governor sees an opportunity with to try and get this stuff across the line, or at least advance it further than it got during the regular session. And we've got some top lines. We got the THC fight we knew was going to happen. We've got congressional redistricting, and then we've got flood mitigation.
And Jasper.
Yeah, I thought it was a major curveball to, include such an expansive list of items. And, I think it threw everyone for a loop, especially given the initial list of topics that the governor announced, that, there was kind of the marquee item over the THC fight. Then everything else that he initially talked about were, kind of lesser known cleanup bills. And then all of a sudden he comes out swinging with some of the biggest, unfinished conservative priorities from the session on top of all that. So I think, I suspect part of the calculation was, we're doing kind of an inflammatory move to redistrict, to redraw the congressional lines, in the middle of the decade. Democrats are already going to be peeved about that. So might as well throw in a bunch of other stuff that will also make them mad, kind of for good measure, just why not? But as Brad said, I would also be surprised if, the success rate is at 100% when all is said and done. But yeah, lots of kind of long time conservative wish list items that the governor's throwing on here, and it's going to be fascinating to see if they can get any of it done.
I mean, I know there's certainly been Republicans who've been calling on the governor to add, more to the special session call, certainly on property tax relief and some of these other issues. But is the governor doing this because, the Democrats are going to be there, and because flooding is going to be such an important part of this session and where there's bipartisan support?
I mean, I would say that the inclusion of some of these, absolutely with redistricting, I think that's part of the calculation that, the Democrats can't afford to look like they're skipping out on this, much needed, money to help these hard hit communities recover from the devastation, et cetera, and absolutely, I think including those other items on top of that, I think it's all part of the same bucket. If Democrats are going to have to be there to approve this flood relief, then why not force them to go for all these other items that didn't get done during the regular session?
Brad?
Yeah, going into this, the question was, when we heard the rumors about redistricting, it's been a thing for a while. The Trump administration has been pushing for it. The question was, how do you keep Democrats in town? And before the horrific flooding happened, what's the bait you give Democrats? There's a lot of talk. My kind of theory was give them a chunk of the border reimbursement money coming from Congress, and we might still see that, I think. But now we have this flooding issue that is an emergency and has to get done ASAP. And politically speaking, Democrats can't afford to skip town for this. And there's that, but they also, just out of their own volition, don't want to miss that because they want to have a hand in this. They realize the need too. We saw a bunch of statements from them coming out as well about, and along with Republicans, about the need to address this going forward. So this is the thing that the governor at least is counting on is going to keep them in town.
Let's go take a little deeper dive into the redrawing of congressional districts, because it's certainly very interesting. And in the governor's agenda, he said specifically, he cited constitutional issues as it relates to 4 of the congressional districts. Districts 9, 18, and 29, which are in the Houston area, I believe. And then the 33rd Congressional District, which is up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that's a seat held by Democrat Mark Vesey. And so, Brad, talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on this letter and the use of, quote, coalition districts, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so the letter itself is interesting because it's clearly a coordinated justification on the back end to do redistricting. You don't need any reason to do redistricting. The legislature can redistrict at any point. They just have to do it at the first session after the census. So they could do it if they wanted. This is them trying to find cover to do it. And so they're citing a Galveston court case that was decided, I think, last year, where the court ruled that you didn't need that a majority coalition district didn't count as a minority district. And so basically the Voting Rights Act is trying to protect minorities' voting power. And so they found that a district that had 31% Hispanics and 20% Blacks those two demographics did not align enough to constitute themselves one minority in order to reach that threshold. So it's complicated legalese, but basically all these districts that are a combination of different minority demographic groups, if that constitutes a majority, then under this justification, they're able to be redrawn, at least under this case law. So it's really going to shake up the map a lot. And it will go farther than just those few districts, because you will have to pull Republican votes from other places. And I think the entire map's going to get shaken up. This is not going to be limited to just those 5 congressional districts.
And Jasper.
Yeah, I mean, I think one sort of takeaway from what Brad was talking about there is, the part of the end game seems to be hoping, essentially, I don't know if this is like going to be an explicit effort to challenge, key provisions of the Voting Rights Act, but certainly, you could see a result where these maps, however they, get redrawn, are challenged in court, and under the, sort of the reshaped federal judiciary system, where you've got a bunch of new judges, installed by the Trump administration in recent years. I think it's fair to at least speculate that Republicans have that in the back of their mind, that, we could essentially see a big gutting of the Voting Rights Act that would, in the future, give them a lot more free rein to draw these districts, in ways where they don't have to be bound by keeping these minority communities, tightly packed together, so that, they don't have to think as much about concerns in diluting their votes. So kind of the one takeaway could be just far-reaching implications, not just beyond Texas, but for other states, future redistricting cycles. If, and I know we're several steps away from what I'm talking about here, but, I think that is absolutely in play, that, Republicans see an end game of making some changes through the courts to the Federal Voting Rights Act.